ON1 Photo RAW 2026.4 was released, and it comes with the Restore AI tool built into it for those of you who have ON1 Photo RAW Max. Now, I've heard that you can get access to a watermarked version of this inside of the standard version, but if you want to export the images from Restore AI, you're going to need to be on the Max version. Now, we're going to cover some more information about ON1 Photo RAW Max and Restore AI, but what I really wanted to do was show you how to use the software today. Now, of course, if you'd like to pick up ON1 Photo RAW and save some money in the process, assuming that it's not on sale, I want to be clear, the coupon code that I have, FreeWellPhotos20, it only works on the original price of ON1 Photo RAW. However, if you do place the coupon code into the checkout box, I do make a small commission, and it just helps support this channel, and I greatly appreciate it. It's at no extra cost to you. Now, of course, if the software is not on sale, then you get to save some money in the process as well. So consider using the coupon code, and let's go ahead and jump into the computer and take a look at Restore AI. All right, so here we are inside of ON1 Photo RAW 2026.4. And remember, I am using the Max version. If you have the standard version, you will probably still have this icon, but from what I understand, you're not going to be able to do anything inside of that particular workspace as far as exporting it without a watermark. All right. If you have any experience with using that, please leave it in the comment section down below. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and click on this first image. Now, for situational awareness, these are photos that I took on my Sony a7R5, and this is the image right here. This is the raw image straight out of camera. I haven't made any modifications with the exception of a crop. All right, that's all that I've done, and that's just because when I photographed these, I didn't like professionally scan them. So I just want you to be aware of what type of file I'm putting into Restore AI. Now, if you have a different type of image, maybe you have film scans or something like that, I think you are going to get some different results potentially. I don't know for sure. So again, the more you use this tool, please, let's make this video a place for people to go and check out the comment section to get other people's experiences with this particular tool. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and click on Restore AI, which is going to be over here on the right bumper. When I click that, it brings us into the Restore AI workspace. And this is a really easy to use workspace. I think that there's some really cool things inside of the workspace, but by default, it's going to pull your image in, send it to the cloud. I do want to be clear, this does go to the cloud and it's processed there. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But once it goes to the cloud, then it's going to process your image and it gives you a default reading. Now, what I found is whichever restore preset, if you will, that you've had selected previously, that's what ON1 is going to use to render your first file. But you can jump between them. So let's say I want to go with the sepia. Well, now I've modified this over to the sepia, or maybe I want to go with faithful, which ON1 is saying this is like their standard version, if you will, but it doesn't really matter. You choose the one that makes the most sense for you. I've found that auto seems to be the best starting point when I'm using this particular tool, and I'll show that to you a little bit later, but you can see what auto is doing right here on this particular image. Now, I have personally put this image into Restore AI 3 times, and every time it's a little bit different. And the reason for that is it is using generative AI algorithms in order to generate the file. All right. And so that means you're not always going to get the same results. So if you find something that you like, you may want to consider exporting it, because you likely won't get the same result the next time that you put this image into Restore AI. With that being said, the next section down is going to be generations. We're going to skip over that for a second because that's actually a really cool section, but there's more to do in there than what I'm ready to discuss right now. And so we're going to jump down to this section that says adjustments. And inside of the adjustment section, it's a really easy to use interface. You have really two sliders that are controlling the tone and the color. If you're familiar with using the color match tool inside of ON1 Photo RAW effects, then you'll feel right at home with this. I can take the tone correction and pull it down, and now it's bringing some of the original tone that was in the initial image. So maybe I like it to be a little bit darker. There you go. And then of course the color correction. If there is a color cast, then you'll start to get the original color cast the closer you get to 0. And then the closer you get to 100, it's going to be that AI generated look. And so this is your ability to kind of blend your image with the AI generation. So I'll probably pull this particular image down to about 45, and I think this looks pretty good. Now, you do get to use the before and after tool. So if you press the backslash key, this is the before, and then this is the after. So I can look at it and say, okay, this is what it looked like before. This is what I'm getting. And overall, I think it's doing a good job. There is the elephant in the room of the thing that it's not doing such a good job on, and we're going to talk about that. But I want to show you how the tool works before I give my opinion on that particular portion. You let me know what you think the elephant in the room is down in the comment section with Restore AI. All right. I'd be curious to know if anyone identifies that. With that being said, the next slider down is details. Now, in all of my experiments with using Restore AI, and I've probably only put about 30 images through it so far, all right, just being honest. And with those 30 images, I have not found any real need to use a lower amount of detail. So I don't know why there is a detail slider. If you've found a reason to use the detail slider less than 100, which is the default setting when you activate Restore AI, please leave that in the comment section, because I'd be really curious to know the use case of wanting to lower the detail, unless you're going for something completely artistic, which, you know, you could do that. But if you're really just trying to restore and reconstruct an image, I feel like details just are a given that you want to have them in there. If anything, I believe that the detail slider should be something like the temperature slider, where it starts off in the middle at a 0%, or like a balance slider, if you will. And so 0 in the middle. And then if you want to increase detail, you can move it to the right. And then if you do have a reason to decrease detail, then you can pull it to 0. But in its current state, you can only get to 100. Let me see. I can type in here, but I'm going to try to type 200 and then hit enter, and nope, it doesn't do anything. So I don't know why that stops at 100. To me, that seems a little odd. The next thing down is monochrome. And this is really just the monochrome adjustment or restore algorithm. So I'm not sure why they made a button and have the algorithm up here. But nonetheless, if you find that you want to make a monochrome version of your restored photo, then you can do that right here. Then you have temperature and saturation, and these work just like they would in the develop or the effects section. And so you don't need a whole, I guess, rundown on these. But for this particular image, I think I am going to give it a little bit more saturation, just because the original, the colors were a little faded. Now, this was the look. This was shot on film in the early 2000s. All right. And if you're not aware, this is me on graduation day when I graduated from high school back in the day. I won't tell you when, but nonetheless, when I graduated in the early 2000s, I'll say it like that, that was we were using film and it was good. I think digital cameras were just coming out at the time, and we did not have one. We had a film camera. And this is, I think, actually the only, fun fact, the only graduation photo of myself. I didn't take many photos on graduation day for some reason. Anyway, all that being said, the next item down is going to be the apply resize at all magnifications. Now, I have it checked right now, and by default, this probably won't be checked for you. And that's okay, because when you have this unchecked, you can see I get like these little, I guess, pixelated looking lines here. You can really see it on the back of the car here. And so when I check this, it's going to render all of that and make it a little bit more smooth. Now, the reason why it's turned off by default is because this does require your computer to have a little bit more processing power. Even though this is happening in the cloud, your GPU still has to render it and show it to you. And so if your GPU is not going to be strong enough to provide that image to you, well, the lower resolution version, which is without the box being checked, that's what you're going to be able to see. But just know this is not what your image is going to look like in the end. It's going to look more so like this when you have this box checked. So do some experimenting, figure out what makes the most sense for your machine. But if you are running into issues and things are running slower than you would expect them to, it probably has something to do with this button right here. So those are the basic adjustments. Again, we're going to come back to generations, but I'm going to go ahead and minimize the adjustment section, and we're going to look at face recovery. Now, earlier I mentioned that there was an elephant in the room, and I don't know if you noticed, but the face that was recovered here, that's not me, or at least I don't believe that's me. I've seen myself, and that doesn't look like me. All right. You let me know in the comment section if you think this looks like me. And unfortunately, this is one of the downfalls to using the Restore AI in its current state. Now, I'm not making a dig or a ding at ON1. In fact, they even mentioned that they know that this isn't working the best when it comes to recovering prominent faces and things of that sort. But most of the photos that I would care to restore are portraits, because like for me, at least in my family, we took a lot of photos on film and they're a little old and beat up. And so a restoration tool like this would really benefit me the most if it was doing a decent job at restoring the faces. Now, I will show you what you can do in order to kind of restore the face here. But again, by default, this could be a little off-putting because it is a generative tool. It is making stuff up, all right? But I don't want it to make up stuff about my face. So if I turn it off, you'll notice that I get a little pixelated here, but that still doesn't quite look like me. Like if I go before and we go after, you can tell that does not look like me at all. All right. Or at least I don't think it does. And so what we'll do is turn the face recovery back on, and you'll notice that there's a button that says adjust faces. Now, when you click this, you're going to get a green box around all of the identified faces in the photo. So if you got one face, you'll get one box. If you got 14 faces, you should get 14 boxes. All right. And you'll have to click on the box. If it's not green, it's not going to show you the preview of what the restoration tool is doing. All right. Now, when it is green, you get this little slider that you can pull. And so if I pull this down, I start to bring back my original face. Now, it's not blending the best overall in the photo, but maybe I could get away with something that looks like this, because that does actually look like me. Now, does it match the tonality of the rest of the image? No. And so that's where you're going to need to know how to do some masking work inside of ON1 Photo RAW, as opposed to just relying on the restore tool. But this does get pretty close. Now, you'll also notice it does bring back a little bit of artifacts. Let me zoom in here a bit. It does bring back a few artifacts, and you can really notice that in the cap. Now, I'll also note that as I got closer, you realize that doesn't quite look like me anymore. It just looks like a wax figure face, which again, not a dig at ON1. They did caution that this is not working the best on portraits. Unfortunately, I just don't have anything that isn't a photo with a person in it to showcase how the Restore AI tool works. And so if anyone has any of those and you'd like to share them with me for purposes of just educating people on how the tool works here on the channel, then send me an email. We'll arrange a drop off so that way I can get those images, and then I will test them out and create a video, because I do want to help show that off. But I really just don't have any landscape images that I could use because I didn't photograph landscapes with my film. So I don't have any to restore. Anyway, if I turn this off, you can see it just doesn't look like me overall when I'm zoomed in. At least it looks a little bit more like me when I zoom out. Definitely it still has the same expression, so I'm okay with it. I can live with this version. Is it the best? No. Is it exactly what I wanted? No. All right. But that's enough about face recovery. Once you're done modifying the faces however you would like to do that for your images, you can hit done, and then it's going to be in there. So overall, this looks way better than the default that came in there. So I'm good with that. Now we have two things that I would not really spend too much time using inside of here, which is sharpening and film grain. Sharpening and film grain, you have access to those in ON1 effects. So I'm not going to go over those, but they do work the exact same way. So if you want to bake that into your file before you do any other stylistic things, then by all means, go ahead and do that. But if you are going to use effects for any other stylistic choices, then you might as well just apply those inside of ON1 effects when you go that route. Okay. Now, I skipped over generations earlier, and I think that this is probably the most exciting aspect right now of Restore AI, in my personal opinion. And the reason why I say that is because we now have a text box to prompt the AI to do things that we want it to do. And so the way that I'm thinking about using Restore AI is not really using it in the, I guess, the aspect of I have old photos. I'm probably going to be using it more like a text prompter to make adjustments. Case in point, on the road here, I have some vehicles. And so I'm going to say remove cars on the road. All right. And then I'm going to click regenerate. Again, this is happening in the cloud, and so you do have to have an internet connection. But once it goes up to the cloud, ON1 is going to process it on the server, and you can see it has now regenerated this road. Now, it added in a little bit of a weird cul-de-sac here or whatever this is, which I could live with. But ultimately, the cars are gone, and that's what I think we've been looking to see at some point inside of ON1, a way to kind of interact with the AI by telling it in plain language what we want it to do. And so this is the first iteration that I've discovered inside of ON1. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't go and use the generative erase tool later on the photo, especially if I wanted to get rid of this for sale sign over here. I could use the generative erase tool to do that as well. And then there's also the power lines here, or at least the supports to the power line pole. So if I wanted to fix that or modify that, I can definitely do so. I can type that in here. Now, what I've noticed is you want to put all of the things into a single prompt. So if I want the cars to be removed on the road, and then I also want to get rid of the for sale sign, what I can do is I need to put a period, and then I'm just going to type in remove the for sale sign on the left side. We'll see how well it works with that. All right. Click regenerate. Again, it's going to go back to the cloud. It's going to process this, and then it's going to spit an image back out for us. But this time it didn't really do anything. And so It's not quite as intelligent as we would like it to be, but it did get rid of the cars, and it's a starting point. Now, what I haven't done, I'm going to come back over here to the remove, and I'm going to, instead of having it remove something, I'm going to try something. I haven't done this yet. All right. So you're going to witness this with me. I'm going to go with add a basketball court in the road. All right. I don't know why I would want a basketball court in the road, but just playing around with this, seeing how much we can go. And okay, it brings back the cars, and it is looking like it tried to add in the basketball court a little bit there. So I think that this is cool. Again, needs some more work and experimentation, but you can see that I am able to get rid of the cars. And what I also didn't call out is, notice I have 3 different regenerations down here. And so every time that you generate a different image, you're going to get the, I guess, that version kind of saved as a snapshot. Now, what I'm noticing also is I need to add everything into a single line of text. And so what I'm going to do is come over here to the add a basketball court. I'm going to come to the photo where I have the line that says, or the generation, I should say, where I have the line of text that says add a basketball court. And I'm going to, oh, sorry. I needed that to actually say remove. And so we're just going to make it say remove cars. Remove the cars on the road. Okay. So now we're telling ON1, I want you to get rid of the cars and then add a basketball court in that area. So let's see what happens this time. Now, while this is thinking, notice, okay, so it got a little bit better there. Not quite. It added in some paint and whatnot, but so that's, enough experimenting for right now. The question you may be asking is, Chris, how the heck do I get this photo out of the cloud and back onto my machine? Because right now this is not on your computer. I want to stress this. This is a portal into the server that ON1 is hosting, and it is processing your image, giving you a display of it or a representation of it, and then you still have to export it from that server and save it back to your computer. All right. And so by default, this is a non-destructive way because your original image is going to stay unedited. All right. And so what I'm going to do is come down here and hit the blue check mark, because we'll say that I'm done with this photo. You're going to get an export dialog box. All right. Once you have this dialog box pulled up, it's pretty straightforward. I don't want to insult anyone's intelligence, but my recommendation is leave this with the save folder as original, or I'm sorry, same folder as original, as far as where you want ON1 to save it on your computer. You can rename the file if you'd like to, but if you want it to show up right next to your original image, then don't touch the file name. Just leave this top section alone. All right. If you could minimize it, I would. And then I wouldn't even worry about that, because I think it's always a good practice to just put this in the same place with the same name, minus this back half that says Restore AI. It's going to help you stay organized, and you're going to remember which photo was in Restore AI versus your other images that you may have on your computer. Then the next thing is the file type. Now, this is where you can start to make some decisions. Either you want this to be a TIFF, a JPEG, a PNG. If you're working with a RAW file and you want to retain some of that raw data, well, maybe a DNG is going to be a good solution for you. That is a decision you get to make. And then, of course, you got Photoshop and Photoshop large document. I'm going to leave this as a JPEG because I think that that's all that I really need for this. And then you get the quality selection. And again, if you're familiar with using ON1, you know that the quality selection is really just an option that you get for all of the JPEG exports. And if you're not familiar with it, 80% typically does pretty good. But if you're going to print this, I recommend exporting to 100%. The trade-off is you're going to get a larger file size. All right. You can see at 100%, I got a 6 megabyte file size. And if I bring this back down to 80%, I get to save 2 megabytes because I get 4 megabyte file size. Then I skipped over color space because only like you don't really need to worry about color space unless you're doing some like super deep like editing, all right, or printing. Otherwise, Adobe RGB 1998, it works just fine. Then you have this bottom section here after saving, all right? You get to tell ON1, what do you want ON1 to do with this photo? After it saves it from the cloud, puts it back into the same folder with this file name, what do you want it to do? Do you want it to open and browse? Do you want it to open and develop or one of these other areas down here? Or do you want to just go back to the home screen? All right. I always leave mine set to do nothing just because I will figure out what I'm going to do with it later. But if you know, like, hey, I need to go right into developing this photo, well, then just click develop, and then ON1 is going to launch the file in the develop module. I'm going to put it back to do nothing and hit save. While this is saving, we're going to jump over to the ON1 website and take a look at what all of this really means for users of ON1 Photo RAW. All right, so here we are over on the ON1 website, and I want to show you a few things on the website. I do encourage you to go and check this out for yourself. A link to the website will be in the description box, but you can just go over to on1.com and access all of this information. So I'm going to click this box here that says special offer, just because that gets us to the product page. You can read through all of this information. Just know that May 31st seems to be a deadline or a suspense in order to get in on the deals that are here. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure that you apply or you go and make your purchase before May 31st. But I'm not really focused on any of this stuff because I actually have a video that covered a lot of this already. What we're going to do is go all the way down to the bottom. And the frequently asked questions section is probably one of the most important places that anyone who is considering ON1 Photo RAW to go and check out. The reason is, first, you want to look at the system requirements. And it's going to be the very last option down here. If you don't have a computer that meets the minimum, and I would even say the recommended system requirements, you are going to have a less than acceptable experience with ON1 Photo RAW. All right. These are the requirements that ON1 is saying, hey, if you want to use the software, you're going to want to make sure that you have this. All right. And this is where they're saying you're going to get the best opportunity or performance out of ON1. All right. So I'll digress on that. It's very important. You should come and check this. Make sure your computers meet that specification before you make a decision to pick up ON1. What I would also recommend is you download a trial of ON1 Photo RAW if you don't have it already, and just see how it works on your current machine before you make a decision to fully commit to purchasing. Now, the next one here is going to be the second question, and this is about Restore AI because that's the purpose of today's video. So if I click this, it is a very, very lengthy answer to what the heck is Restore AI and all of the questions, right? So you get what is Restore AI, who is it designed for, and then how does it work? But the ones that I think most people are going to be the most interested in are going to be, why does it have to be processed in the cloud? Well, it uses a large AI model, significant memory, and computing power. Now, the next question is, well, will this ever work locally on our desktop computers? And ON1 is exploring some options right now, but there's no estimated timeline of when that'll happen. And this goes back to the system specifications, because I believe that if they're going to find a way to do it, and I hope that I get proven wrong on this, by the way, but if they do find a way to have this AI model work on your local machine, those system specifications are going to go through the roof. And you're going to have to buy a more expensive machine just to use the software. And for a lot of people, you may not even need to use Restore AI, especially if it's not really who it was designed for, right? If you don't fall into that category of people. So go and read that, internalize it, and make a decision if it's something that you need. But one of the big questions is, well, if you're sending images to the cloud, are they private? And what does the company do with the photos? Well, the answer here, are photos processed with Restore AI private and secure? The answer that they give is yes. And then they go on to say photos processed through Restore AI are handled securely and never used to train AI models or improve data sets. All right. So ON1 is saying they're not going to use your images when you send them to the cloud. And that is all that I will say about that. That's a decision that you'll have to make if you feel comfortable with sending your images to the cloud. That is a personal decision, and I stand by everyone in whichever direction they choose to go with that. Now, with that being said, is Restore AI included with ON1 Photo RAW? And so here is where the differentiator starts to come in. And I know that there's some people who have a little bit of heartburn about this, but I think that it's important to understand that they do have two different products available on the market. They have the Max version and they have the standard version. Now, not everyone needs all of the stuff that's in the Max version, but they want all of the stuff that's in the Max version. Well, then my opinion and my recommendation to all of those people is, well, then just purchase the Max version. And then that becomes your version of ON1. But for everyone who doesn't need all of the things that come along with the Max version, which right now are Restore AI and the ability to use ON1 as a plugin, then if you need those features, then by all means go ahead and purchase that. Otherwise, you can purchase the less expensive version, the standard version that doesn't come with that. Now, if you are, however, on an older version of ON1, or maybe you are using the standard version of ON1, you have the ability to upgrade to the Max version. So just log into ON1, click on the upgrade option, and you can make your upgrade however you see fit. Completely up to you. I'm not trying to pressure anyone into getting the 2026.4 version. I'm just giving information and my own opinions about the software. That's it. All right. Now, the portion down here is about the licensing and working with Restore AI. And so I want to clear this up because I think in some of my previous videos, I may not have been as clear, and I also wasn't as informed. I'm a little bit more informed now, and I'm trying to get more information. So I'm giving you the best information that I have at the moment as of May 23rd when I'm creating this content here. All right. So the first thing here, perpetual license. This is for all the people who buy that lifetime license. This is one of the most attractive things about purchasing ON1 Photo RAW. Well, if you get a perpetual license for the Max version, 2026.4 Max, you'll receive unlimited restorations for 1 full year to the cloud-powered restoration processing. All right. And so what I'm not entirely sure on is if that is 1 year from the date of purchase. So if you were to purchase it today, May 23rd, do you get unlimited access to this tool until May of 2027? Or do you only get 1 year based off of what you get with the 2026 version until the 27 version comes out? And I know that sounds a little confusing, but that is a question. Hopefully, and as I understand this, my assumption would be that you do get 365 days of access to this portion of On1 Restore AI, even if you choose not to upgrade to the 27 version when it comes out later this year. Now, if you're on the subscription model, then none of what I just went over really matters, because you're just going to get all of the upgrades and all the updates and just have access. As long as you have the ON1 Max or the Studio version, which I think their base subscription is the ON1 Max subscription. So as long as you have that, you're going to be good to go. Now, we all know it's no tokens for using Restore AI, so you can just use it and get unlimited uses for that 1 year. Or if you're on the subscription, as long as they keep it token free and credit free, you get access to it because you are on the subscription. So there's some more information down here, but this video has already gone on for quite a little while, and so I don't want to continue belaboring it. And so I do want to say that Restore AI, it is a tool. It's not for everyone, but it is something that is available, especially for those who are using the max version of ON1 Photo RAW. I'd love to hear your comments and I guess your experience with using Restore AI down in the comment section below. And, just realize that we're all here together using ON1. And I'm not telling anyone that you can't speak how you truly feel about the tool. But let's remember that we, as the users of ON1, are just that, users of a tool. We're not the people who created it, and we're not the people who are telling everyone that they must go out and purchase it, because I'm definitely not telling you that you must go and purchase ON1. Do I love using ON1 personally? Absolutely. Do I recommend it to people? Absolutely. But do I think that it's for every single person? No, I don't. And so I want to be very clear about that. But if you found this video helpful, go ahead and smash the like button. And if you want to pick up ON1 and help the channel out in the process, consider using the coupon code FreeWolfPhotos20. I do make a commission from everyone who uses it. And if it's on sale, you're not going to be able to save money. But if you're watching this in the future and ON1 Photo RAW is not on sale, you could stand to save a little bit of money when you check out. And so it's a win-win for everyone. Until next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.